Hey everyone, welcome back to A Girl and Her Dad. This is the podcast where we slow down the loudest conversations of our time and actually think things through and break them down for you guys. I'm Jackie, the Gen Z daughter, and I'm the one that asks the questions I feel like a lot of people aren't asking or are afraid to ask out loud.
And I'm Jackie's dad, here to help answer the questions and try to do the best that I can.
Thanks, Dad. So today we're stepping into a fun topic. It's one of the most divisive topics of our culture right now, you could say, or of the last 5, 6 years or so, which is transgenderism. Woohoo! So before anyone jumps into conclusions here, I just want to be clear that this episode isn't coming from a place of hate. It's coming from confusion. And it's from feeling like the world changed overnight and no one really explained how or why. So we will be unpacking that. So just to start off here, when I was in college, which was not that long ago, I graduated 2019. What is it?
Right.
It's 2026
Six, basically. Yeah, it is now.
basically.
Oh, it is 2026 now, yeah.
So yeah, that would be like 7 years ago, like throughout my entire
Yeah,
college
so 11,
experience.
10, 11, 10, 12 years, it's
Yeah,
kind of
like
exploded.
I started 10 years ago, 11 years ago, and then I graduated about 7 years ago now. So that wasn't that long ago. And pronouns were not a thing. I never even I heard of pronouns in kindergarten when I was taught what a pronoun is, but we didn't have to declare pronouns or anything. Like, that was not a thing, and, I went to a Big Ten school, so I guess you could say it could be pretty liberal in a way, but I never, ever did I see anything on campus about pronouns or from any of my professors in my class for us to declare our pronouns, but I feel like now, just a few years later, again, like 7 years later, they're everywhere. We're expected to have them in our email signatures, job applications, our school profiles, anything and everything. And it's even in laws now in some areas. So uh, if you hesitate or ask questions about this topic, pronouns, and not wanting to declare a pronoun because it should be pretty obvious based on your biology, you're often treated like you're immoral or dangerous or hateful. And today we just want to slow this conversation way down and understand, where did this come from? Why did it happen so fast? And what does this mean for parents trying to raise kids in a world where these ideas are really just unavoidable? So that's why we brought in my dad today, and why we always do, so we can help ground this conversation in reality, common sense, and long-term thinking. So let's get into it. So Dad, I just want to start out with asking this question. Again, something that really stands out to me about the topic of transgenderism is how sudden it feels. As I mentioned, when I was in college, not that long ago, 6 years ago, I graduated, pronouns were just not a part of everyday life. I'd never heard of them. It wasn't something people talked about casually. And it wasn't expected that you had to declare your pronoun. So suddenly it's everywhere. And I can't exactly remember when this was forced in. From my memory, it feels like 2020 maybe, when the COVID thing was happening, maybe just got intertwined in there. But now it's everywhere. It's in our schools, it's in our workplaces, it's in our government policies. It just doesn't feel like something that even slowly evolved to me. It just feels like it dropped out of the sky and came out of nowhere. So from your perspective, and since you're older and wiser, did you see this movement grow organically, or do you feel that it was pushed by institutions and culture before it, to me, dropped out of the sky? And where do you think the starting point prior to this movement was, and why do you think it happened so fast?
Okay, so great question. No, it didn't just pop out of the sky. We talked before about cause and effect. This is an effect of a deeper cause, at least from my perspective. I'm going to take a few minutes and I'm going to answer the question the only way it can be answered. Sometimes we want fast answers and they're not there.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to do, I am not going to attack the ideology of the trans movement, because what I'm going to do is promote the ideology of the traditional, for lack of a better word, movement. If the traditional conservative side would just promote their ideology in a clear, rational, well thought out argument, there wouldn't really even be a debate. And this is something that's gone on for a long time, hundreds of years.
What do you mean by that?
What I mean is, I'm going to basically give you, for a lack of a better way to say it, a Catholic anthropology, a Catholic approach to anthropology, which means the human person, the study of the human person.
Is this relatable to someone who's not Catholic?
It is relatable to anyone who's Catholic, Christian, atheist, or in the trans movement, because these are age-old truths, not subjective opinions that are well thought out and in accord with scripture, in accord with reality, in accord with the objective environment around us. So I can't answer any questions, and nor should any conservative try to, unless they understand the human anthropology. So with that, I'm going to hijack the show. All right.
Sure.
Do I have your permission? Because it is your show, really. It's because you come first, a
No,
girl
it's
and
our
her dad.
show.
So I'm just kind of the secondary person here.
No, it's our show.
Okay.
You hijack the show. Just make sure that you can keep
I'll
people
keep it.
engaged.
No, I'm going to keep them engaged. I'm going to keep it interesting. I'm going to move it fast.
Okay.
But still, it takes time because
Sure.
sometimes the most difficult answers aren't answered in sound bites.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're answered in a rational, well thought out concept. So,
Sure.
that being said, I'm going to give a definition. And this definition goes like this: an individual substance of a rational nature. That is a definition, a classical, ancient, from antiquity definition of a person. And that definition
Individual substance of rational nature.
of a rational nature.
Okay.
The key word for our topic is the word substance, because everything that exists, whether we think about it or not, is a substance. Okay. So when I say an individual substance of a rational nature is the definition of a person, how does the human being fit into that definition? Well, it comes from the word substance. Substance in any item or any being is a combination of form and matter. So in the case of the person, the human being, the form is the soul and the matter is flesh and bones. Okay? So change that definition now and say an individual with a soul and flesh and bones who has a rational nature. That pretty much sounds like a person, right? So that's what it is. So now take one step below that. Since we're talking about substance, and substance is what is below and what stands below, I'm going to give a definition of a soul, because we know now the human person is an individual substance of soul and body. So the definition of a soul is the first actuality of an organic body potentially having life. And this is crucial. The first act of an organic body potentially having life.
Okay.
Okay? So it is a body. The flesh and bones can only have life if it's actualized. And the soul is the first act of that body. It brings that body to life. So in our case of human beings, the marital act produces a fertilized egg, and it's either alive or it just dies off and goes away, and there's no pregnancy involved. And we, as Catholics, or as Christians, or any type of believers, believe that God is the author of life. So unlike angels, we have a unique relationship with God. Angels can't do what we do. We are co-creators with God. We co-create with God and bring life into the real reality. How? Through the marital act of sex. Okay? In a sense, if you look at it this way, we're supplying the fertilized egg and God's supplying the soul. Okay? Angels can't do that. Angels don't reproduce. Angels are just created. So this is the one act that we're co-creators with God. Okay? That being said, it's not God has his inventory of souls up in heaven and he sends them down when he thinks these husband and wife are going to have a child. It is the soul is the form of the body. So when God determines there's life instantly, not two separate things, the body, the fertilized egg, is informed because the soul is the form. It is informed by the soul. It's not the soul tagged onto this material. It is constitutive of what that material is. It makes that material be what it is.
Yeah.
A human person. And if we think about it, we supply the fertilized egg and the sperm and the egg, okay? So you think about it, you say, well, and God, in a sense, supplies the soul, even though they're not two different things. He decides when that fertilized egg is going to be ensouled, okay? And God is perfect. And how he makes that being exist is a perfect desire of what God intended. Okay? He didn't intend anything other than what exists. Okay? So to say, and I'll use scripture here in Genesis, when he says, I created them in my image, or Moses is writing this obviously, he created them in his image, he created them male and female. What's the key word in that sentence?
Male and female.
No, actually not.
Oh.
I know.
He created them?
He created them. He created.
We didn't create them.
We don't create. We are creatures. Creatures don't get to dictate the terms of the creator. Okay? Makes sense? I mean, if Marconi invented the radio, damn it, it's a radio. He didn't intend it to be a TV. If Alexander Graham invented the phone, he's the inventor. It's the phone. If God created people, male or female, they're male or female upon creation.
Okay.
They're no other thing than that. Okay, so it's important. No, people say, well, then if the soul is perfect and God is perfect, why is somebody born blind? Well, think about it. In this situation, we're co-creators. God determines when life starts. We supply the DNA material. Are we perfect? No.
No.
So what we contribute as usual can always be imperfect. It can be a blind person. And there's also accidental qualities. It doesn't matter. The soul defines what that body is, male or female. It's a human person. It exists.
Yeah.
Now there's those, that's the primary existence. There's a secondary existence. Is that person blind? Is that person deaf? Does that person have blonde hair? Does it have black hair? Those are all secondary attributes, secondary properties.
Yeah.
But the primary being at creation, at conception, is exactly what God intended. And anything else that can be altered is. You dye your hair, because those are secondary qualities. But the primary quality is male, female, human person. And that is not up to the creature to dictate to the creator what is allowed. And what happens in the trans movement, and not just the trans movement, this is all about subjective reality. They tend to think, I'll go back to this Cartesian dualism we talked about, where I think, therefore I am.
Okay.
Okay. That splits the human person into the parts of body and soul as two separate entities. The soul is not a parasite on the body, which is the host, and then can treat the body as an instrument to be manipulated. The soul is the form. It informs the body. It's one entity and one entity only. Okay.
Yeah.
So this thinking of this dualistic thinking, you hear people say, I don't know who I've become anymore, or I need to get back in touch with myself. That's a product of this Cartesian mindset. Modern philosophy is split between the human person. They break the human person in half between a body and a soul. No, we're one cohesive unit created by God, intended to be what he decided. So where I'm going with this is, you're born the way God created you to be. Well, of course we co-created, but he intended, he gave life when he decides, and that life is defined by that human person and what they are at birth. So this is an attack on trans people. I'm waiting for my lovely and dear bishops to start promoting this type of concept. This is hundreds of years old, and they've gone to sleep when this argument came to society.
Have they said anything about it ever?
Well, they're against it. And they're against it, saying, it's a strike against the dignity of the human person. Brilliant. It is a strike against the dignity of the human person.
Yeah.
But I don't hear homilies on this. I don't see articles in the church papers on this. And I'm not criticizing any priests. I'm criticizing, as usual, the bishops, because they're the boss. Mm-hmm. Tell your employees, hey, we need to talk about these things. We need to educate the people sitting in the pews. And what happens is,
because people don't know that,
exactly. So people,
it's bad.
What do they do when they're against trans? They attack the trans person. You know what? Stop attacking the trans person, and how about defending your own concepts and ideas? The best way to beat someone at the argument is not to attack them and hate them. The best way is to know your position.
Yeah.
A lot of conservatives don't know their position. They don't know where it comes from.
That's what this podcast is
exactly.
for.
They don't know the foundation of their position.
Yeah.
So what's the easy thing to do when you have no foundation of your position? You attack the other side.
Yeah.
And I'm not letting the trans off. What do they do?
Dangerous.
It's dangerous. And the trans attack this side.
Yeah.
Instead of attacking them, state your position
about.
And go forward. And if they don't believe me, or they don't believe you, or they don't believe, then I can't help that. If you just keep promoting the truth and you keep pushing the truth out there enough.
Click to someone.
I mean, what's the old saying? A lie can spread halfway around the world before the truth can put its pants on. It's true, because you know why? It takes work to get the truth out. It takes not a short answer. It takes a long, and I shortened this answer because I know you'd probably start yelling at me after this. No, I talk too much. So I'm trying to move this quick.
No, it's good.
And you asked a question about, well, is this just for Catholics? Okay, maybe it is. That's a Catholic approach to anthropology, into the human person. But for those who aren't Catholic or Christian and saying, well, that's just a bunch of crap. Well, let me make a suggestion to you. This whole Catholic anthropology is based not on any Catholic. It's based on a pagan in ancient Greece. His name's Aristotle. There's a book called De Anima. Okay? So if you don't want to believe in a Christian, how about a pagan? Read the book De Anima, and they'll explain basically the same thing with just small nuances, because his view of God was different. But his concept of the human person, This is 3,000 years old, and it held sway for 2,975 years. And somehow in the past 25 years, we've taken almost 3,000 years of truth and flushed it down the toilet.
Yeah.
But it's been building for hundreds of years with this dualism, okay?
Well, that's what I want to get to. So
Okay. No, okay.
no,
So
no,
I'm
no.
done. No, I'm done with the anthropology
Keep
part.
going. You were about to answer. That's what I want to understand is like, where did this come from? Why this truth has been here for 3,000 years? For me, it seems so sudden that this came out of nowhere. Like, I
Right.
always knew that there's people like that changed their genders. Like, it was kind of common knowledge, but like
Yeah.
now it's like really out there, and our society is expected to cater to them. And
Adapt.
again, I don't have a problem. Like, if you're a boy and you want to be a girl, like, cool. I don't agree with it. I wouldn't do it, but like, that's between you and God, and I'm not going to promote that. And I don't want myself to cater to your needs of being called a girl when you're clearly a boy. And I don't want my kids playing sports with them or going into the locker room with
Right.
them, right? So where did it come from? And from this 3,000 years of truth, how did it slowly evolve? What's your observation on that?
Well, instead of a philosophical argument, I'll just say a faith argument. I mean, let's face it, 70% of people went to church or mass or some type of Christian worship or some type of worship service in the 1950s. 30% do today.
Mhm.
Okay. And that's pretty much true for the Catholic Church in particular. So you take the 30% that go, forget the people that used to go.
Yeah.
You had 100 people and 70 went to mass
Yeah.
50 years ago. And now out of that 100, only 30 people go.
Yeah.
And then out of that 30 that go, 15 don't even understand their position. So now you're down to a small minority that can't fight back against these demands. I mean, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I mean, the trans movement is what, 3 to 5% of the population, 2%, 1%?
Yeah.
But they're getting all the attention. Why? Because they're making noise, and the other side doesn't know how to defend their position.
Yeah.
And they come off as hateful, bigoted, and mean-spirited. And once they get on a track and they see that the barrier isn't there, and they're basically mowing that barrier down, of course it's going to move fast. Of course they're going to keep making demands. And we have failed miserably. Think about the conservative comeback to this. What do the conservatives say? They'll say, well, if they want to do it at 18, that's fine, but keep it out of the high schools and the grade
Yeah.
schools. Now, that seems logical, right?
Yeah.
But you've already lost the argument when you've done that.
Yeah, because
Already. You're saying it's an okay ideology, but just wait till you're 18.
Yeah.
You've lost the argument.
Yeah.
You've surrendered because you didn't know the foundation you were supposedly standing on. It's kind of like the Catholic or the Christian who says, well, I'm definitely against abortion after the first 3 months. You've lost.
Yeah.
You've lost. Because go back to the anthropology of the human person and when life begins, whether it's abortion or whether it's the trans movement. If you give up that point, if you give that,
then
if you give that foundation up, you're now negotiating.
Yeah.
In philosophy, there's something called Hegelian dialectic. Okay, and it's simply this: there's thesis, there's antithesis, and there's synthesis.
Yeah.
So the thesis is thousands of years we know what the human person is. The antithesis comes along and challenges it and says, no, a man can be a woman can be a man. We can kill a baby at 2 months, 9 months, 8 months, 1 month. We can kill people when they're old. That's the antithesis. So what's the synthesis? Ends up being, well, we'll let abortion after the first 3 months, we'll protect it. We won't let them be trans until they're 18. Guess what? The synthesis that you agree to now becomes the thesis. So for 3 to 5 years, we allow abortion for the first 3 months.
Mhm.
We allow the trans movement after 18. Well, what's going to come along next then? That synthesis that you just agreed to, those terms, now becomes the thesis.
Mhm.
Now another attack comes onto that position. Because you bailed on your very primary position, on your foundation, you are not standing on a foundation of bricks. You're standing on quicksand, and the next attack that comes along, you'll negotiate one more little truth just to not rock the boat, not to lose my job, not to be seen as a hater. And then it'll repeat itself. Self-thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. And it'll keep spiraling on all these cultural arguments. Before you know it, if you're a Christian, like in Canada, you're going to be considered hate speech. Okay?
What do you mean in Canada?
In Canada, they're coming down. The biblical teachings are hate speech. The government's getting involved.
Really?
Yes, they're charging people. So take a look north of the border, just a few miles from our home.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening here. So if you're going to defend a position, number one, know the position you're defending. And number two, don't negotiate truth.
Yeah.
If you negotiate truth, game over. It's a waiting game before And this is an attack on transgender. Not at all. It's attack on
The politicians.
it's attack on, but it's attack on subjectivism,
Yeah.
a denial of objective reality.
Yeah.
And only objective reality can be true.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one truth outside what everybody thinks. We may all think differently, but it doesn't matter. There's only one truth.
Yeah.
And all that ultimate truth is God. But we got to get away from this mind-body dualism of, now if you're an atheist, what do you say? Well, that's all Catholic. No, if you're an atheist, then read Aristotle, okay? Read a pagan book if you don't believe in the Christian anthropology, okay?
Because it's still the same, essentially, right?
Exactly. And if they deny that, they have this philosophy then that there is no God, first of all. We're just a molecular structure of flesh and bones bouncing through space and the universe, and we can manipulate our bodies any way we want to. And as an atheist, I guess that makes rational sense. I mean, we have no purpose. There's no teleological aim for our human person to exist. Yeah, absolutely. But I'm not really talking to the atheist because that's a bigger chasm between us. These are issues within the Christian world and the Christian West that really need to be explained, and they're not being explained.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was a really good explanation. So I think one of the things I personally struggle with on this topic of transgenderism is how feelings seem to outweigh reality, like big time. I feel like if someone feels something strongly enough, we're told reality has to bend around that feeling, or else we're being cruel. And I don't understand why our culture and our politicians are prioritizing feelings over physical reality and science and truth. Because when it comes to something gender specific, it's not just a social trend, it's biology and it's truth. And I think this is fundamental and foundational to how humans understand themselves. So, has society ever tried to redefine something
Yeah.
basic before?
Yeah. Abortion, denying that's a human person. Think about it. I don't want to have to do abortion debate, but
Yeah.
when you're born, we call it the birthday, right? We don't call it existence day. We call it the birthday because that's the day you were out of the birth canal into where we could see you.
Yeah.
Okay. Existence day. It's hard to know. A married couple, unless they have engaged in the marital act every 3 months, once on a schedule, and they would know when existence day happened. But other than that, we can't have existence day. Okay. So we have a birthday. That's the day we get to finally see the person.
Okay.
That's when the person presents itself to the world, and we
Mhm.
call it the birthday. We don't call it existence day. So this whole argument, that's what I'm saying. It's not a trans argument. It's not an abortion argument. It's not a contraception argument. It's an argument about reality. And reality has been under attack. Truth is under attack. Basically, and I'll go back to the statement. The creature wants to be the creator. And I'm sorry, there's only one creator. Okay? And it's a hard fact to accept, I guess, for some people. But it's really a simple philosophy. The one who creates has set reality in motion. And if you don't believe in that, then you're going to be, or even if you believe in it, but you reject it, we tend to want to even create our own God instead of being the creature. We want to make God our creature. I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. I believe God is this. I think God is that.
Yeah.
Really? You think God is this and that? Are you the creator and he's your creature you carry around and you pull out and say, oh, my God says this? It's kind of silly. But if you don't believe in God, what happens is you usually, it's just throughout history, it becomes this radical autonomy, okay? Think of the word autonomous. We're all autonomous. We're all free individuals, right?
Yeah.
Think of the word autonomous, auto, self, nomos in ancient Greek means law or lawgiver. So we're self-lawgivers.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can carry that to a radical extreme. Like St. Thomas Aquinas called us rulers, but we were ruled rulers. We were rulers with a higher power to answer to.
Yeah.
But the atheist or the person who denies maybe that God has any influence, he's just some distant being, they take on this radical autonomy, saying since God has no say in this, I get to dictate the terms of my existence and everybody else's. And I'm going to force my view of my existence on you. You will call me Mrs. You will call me she. Okay? And the best way to handle that in the work environment, if Jerry wants to be called she, I would just refer to Jerry as Jerry. And when I refer to him, I would address an email to him. Hey, Jerry, or Jerry, we have a meeting at 10 o'clock.
You don't say like, hey, she anyways, but
no,
like when
I
you're
know.
talking to someone, you're
Right.
like, oh, well,
but if you're
she
pointing,
did this, or
well, then if you're talking to somebody, unfortunately, we got to train
You have to think
ourselves to
about
say, Hey, Jerry's going to be over there. Not he's going to be over there. Jerry. Now, that's only respecting Jerry on that specific individual basis because you got to work with them. But as the concept of fighting against it, we have to fight against the movement, not by being hateful, by continuously promoting truth.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, the only thing that's going to win is truth. And truth doesn't change. If it changed, it wouldn't be true because it can't change or it's not truth.
What's your advice to people that are forced to provide their pronouns at work when they don't really agree with that concept and they clearly know that they're a she or a he? What do you do?
I would, if I was in that situation, at my age, I wouldn't do it. I'd take the heat and lose my job. But I understand younger people got to buy a house. They got to pay bills. I would spend $300-$500, have a lawyer drop a letter and at least put it in file in human resources that you oppose this, even though you will honor company policy. This is violating my ethical and moral guidelines and standards. I would just have it on record. That's all.
Okay. So should they do it though?
That's me. No, I can't answer that question. Yeah. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a theologian. I'm not a philosopher. I'm just a student of theology. I'm a student of philosophy. A lot smarter people give you a better answer than I could on that.
Okay. Well, so another thing that personally, again, the whole thing with kids, I know you don't like that argument from the Republican perspective, but it really does bother me that it is brought to our kids because transgenderism is clearly an argument that adults are having, but we're bringing it into kids' schools and we're letting our kids watch us argue about this. And then the other thing is we're forcing them to accept this reality. And kids already struggle enough with like confidence and, identity and fitting in and just understanding human nature and biology. They don't know that stuff yet. So we're talking about introducing an idea as fundamental as whether or not you're a boy or a girl when it's clearly obvious what you are. What does that do to their undeveloped brain? I mean, it can't be good. This hasn't happened to any other society before, but it's like so I know like the abortion argument that you just said, we're not forcing that into kids' schools. We're forcing this into kids' schools. We're telling them like if they want to change their gender, that they can go change their gender. And I just don't think that's right. And that's what really bothers me. I mean, I don't think it's right in general, but like it's really not cool to just have it ingrained in kids' brains.
And that's the byproduct of that we've already lost the argument. Okay. Yeah. And the thing is, no, you're right though, but there should be a line at least until we can solve the issue.
As adults.
Yeah. We should leave it out of the classroom because we haven't even solved the issue yet.
Yeah.
On a big grand scale of what's right, what's wrong, what's moral.
There's clearly a divide.
There's a divide. And why bring that division into the school? I agree 100%. I mean, if that's where the conservatives are coming from, let's keep it out of the schools. I'm saying we've lost the argument. You're saying let's wait till they're 18. I'm just saying you're right on that end of it.
I'm not even saying let's wait till they're 18. I just don't think
it shouldn't be in the schools. No, and I agree. But unfortunately, when adults walk away from the truth, you pay for the sins of your father. Mm-hmm. The kids are going to pay the price. What we have is an infantile adult society now that is just passing this down to their children. And it's sad. And it's got to change sooner or later, or there'll be a deeper argument about some other issue that's not even on our radar yet. Then who knows what it could be? We're already in a post-person world. We deny the person even exists. Forget postmodern world. We're in a post-person world. We're in a post-Christian world.
What do you mean by that?
It's like we don't recognize the person for any value anymore in dignity. It's like we're a technocracy now. We're going to put the chip inside the person pretty soon. It'll be an innocent chip just for location and banking purposes to swipe your hand. We're manipulating. We're once again, the soul, if they even believe in one, is nothing but a ghost trapped in a machine. And the machine can always be manipulated, no matter what the ghost thinks. And if we can train the ghost to think they're different from the machine, we'll keep changing the machine. We're post-person, we're post-Christian. We're heading down a path that doesn't look like a great future for, not economically, you can have a great economy and all that, but not seeing the human person as anything of value with a bigger purpose. There's an old book, or Confucius says, when if I point to the moon, okay, the atheist, or the other person who doesn't see anything bigger than themselves is going to look at my finger and study the muscles in it and the DNA structure of it or the molecular structure, not seeing that my finger's pointing something too bigger beyond us. And if we lose that vision that there's something bigger beyond us, and all we can see is our finger and not to the object we're pointing to, I'm glad I'm older. I'm glad I won't stick around for that show, because I think it'll personally be a shit show. It might be everyone's living in peace, but we're in a technocracy where you're chipped. You bank certain days of the week, and if you go to scan, you're not allowed. That's not your day to bank. Once you take away the dignity of the human person and the value that that person came from God, it's a machine to be manipulated. So whether it's this issue in the schools, I say there's a bigger, whether it's that issue, I think there's a whole bigger issue that needs to be fought. And it's got to come from the Christian West. And the Christian West is shrinking. And
what's that issue that needs to be fought?
The whole concept of faith, morals, and the value of the human person. And we have this teleological aim. There's a greater existence for us waiting. And we have to make moral choices to get to that existence. Mm-hmm. If we deny that that existence is beyond earth, then I actually agree with the other side. Do whatever we have to make it better. However you feel. I think, therefore I am. I think I'm a woman, therefore I am a woman. If there is no greater thing that I'm pointing to, their side's right.
But they're not.
Because there's something greater that we point to. It comes down to that. It all really comes down to that. It's, once again, the creature denying the creator.
So what can Western Christianity do to save themselves?
Keep promoting the truth. And
we're not doing it, so what needs to change right now?
Need to get men that are serious and the Catholic perspective into the priesthood, and there's a lot of good ones. Like I said, we're at a very fortunate parish, but there's not a lot of them like that. Truth wins out in the end. That's all I can say. And if you're embarrassed by the truth, you've lost. If you don't know the truth, you've lost. The only way to win is keep promoting the truth, and you don't have to stand up on the mountain and proclaim it. You just got to keep living your life like that. Teach your children the truth. Give it to people when they ask you a question, not in a condemning way or condemnation. It's like, I'm not going to condemn the trans people. I'm going to say, keep promoting truth.
Yeah. And it's almost like you want to condemn the people that are spreading the lies.
Right.
Rather than...
Yeah, versus promote your position.
The person that's just confused.
Exactly. They're confused, so you're going to come off as a hater to them to say, hey, you're wrong. Just keep promoting what is the truth is.
Yeah.
And that's what we need from our church leaders. You know, like the month of June is Pride Month or whatever. And this isn't about the gays. I'm just saying that's a great month to talk about the human person month.
In the Catholic Church.
Yeah, exactly. I know it's a Sacred Heart of Jesus month, but whatever. We got to pick a month where it's the month of truth. It's the month of the human person, the dignity of the human person. And the churches should be talking about that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm not that high scale on theology. I'm sure they have the reasons they do what they do, but I'm just saying there's got to be a fight more than what we're doing.
Yeah, and as a young person as well, church, I mean, I like to go to church. I love to go to church, but I think it's really important for us to hear the theological truths of the issues that are going on.
Absolutely.
And taking over our world. And I guess I don't always hear all of that. And
no.
I wish I did, because how are we supposed to save this argument without hearing it at the places that we go to worship?
Right. No, and
and I'm not saying that the things that they talk about are bad and
no,
they're not important, but like it's also important to educate attendees on what's going on and how we should position ourselves with it.
And I think what the church needs to realize, whether it be the Catholic or Protestants, is that this is not a society anymore that you can say, well, it says this in the Bible. You're going to get rejected.
Yeah.
Okay. So what you got to do is, throughout history, philosophy was the foundation of faith. Yeah. Faith's more important. But I mean, think about John Paul II, St. John Paul II. He wrote a book called Fides et Ratio, Faith and Reason. And his argument was, if you just bring faith to people without reasoned arguments, it's not going to go well. If you just bring reasoned arguments without the background of your faith, it's not going to go well. He compared faith and reason to two wings on an eagle that can soar to the heights of truth.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what we need. So, we get a lot of the faith homilies at church, but when Genesis was a reading and they come to that passage, he created a male and female. That's a perfect opportunity to talk about the human person.
Yeah.
Not to talk about how great God is. We all know that. We hear that all the time. And I'm not saying that. We hear it. We know it. But take that one line and make a homily out of it. And here I am again telling what the priests they should do. I'm not a priest, so I don't know. You know what I mean? But no, I just think that there's so many opportunities from Scripture to provide a reasoned argument about a topic of the day.
Yeah.
But, that's an unfair criticism coming from me because I don't know what it's like to be in that position. But I sure do wish that they would consider that, but
who knows? Maybe they will. Maybe it'll reach to that. But yeah, really, really good points. I learned a lot here today. One last question. I don't know if you would answer this from a theological perspective or from a reason perspective, but you never had to raise small children in a world where lies or confusion is promoted throughout schools and exposed to your children's everyday lives. What do you do? How do you raise your kid in this type of environment and shield them from what's going into their brains, essentially? Because it's not good, and it's not good for them to, again, see an adult argument that's not solved and hear things that are just ignoring basic human biology.
Yeah, that's going to be
transgenderism.
That's going to be a big challenge for you guys.
Yeah, I would have no idea how to go about
that. One person can't dictate. I think what it is that the media and the culture has everybody scared to speak out. You have to, unfortunately, like you're in North Korea or some communist nation, you have to quietly find like-minded people. Since they have power in their numbers on their side, you have to find like-minded people. It takes time.
I think there's more than we realize.
I think there is, because people are just kind of shouted down and scared, and they feel like they're a hater because the media tells them they're the hater. Yeah. But they don't realize the media is speaking for 5% of the people. If people just kind of networked organically, they would have the power over the school boards. How do you
network organically about controversial topics like this, though?
Well, if you have one parent at school who thinks the same way as you, they know 10 other people. They got to know somebody else. That's organically. And you have to make that effort. If you just go away and shut up and say, well, I'll just teach my kid the truth at home, that might work, sure, but it's going to be a lot tougher battle. But if you can create enough problems, bring conservative media attention to a school that's doing something, you see it all the time, and you have to do the fight. If you just lay down and surrender the truth, like I said, the lie is going to be halfway around the world before the truth can get its pants on.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it is. Unfortunately, I didn't have that fight. My parents didn't have that fight. Your generation has that fight. Every generation gets a fight. I mean, I think I was lucky. I was born. I didn't go to war. I could be a big talker and be a coward and not have to fire a gun at an enemy. We didn't have this trans movement. Somehow I kind of snuck through the cultural debates.
How did this happen to art?
I don't know. Well, it's your fight, not mine.
All right. Well, so your answer to that is teach your kids at home, but then also find like-minded people to surround your kids with.
Yes, absolutely, for sure. And just
fight like hell if anything happens.
Right. I mean, just think of where it could go, or in either direction. If you just had a society that discarded faith and only chose reason, you'd end up in an atheistic society like North Korea or the old Soviet Union. But if you have a society, if you say faith is 100% and you discarded reason and you only had a society based on faith, you'd end up like living in Iran under mullahs and imams. So that's why St. John Paul II says, no, it's got to be a combination of faith and reason. So your generation has to learn, which my generation wasn't required to. You have to learn your faith, but you have to learn the reasoned argument of why that faith is true.
Where do you go to learn that?
Huh?
Where do you go to learn that?
You'll roll your eyes, but unfortunately, if you don't read philosophy, like I said, if you come at the other side with the Bible, you lose. You have to come at them with the Bible and, I don't know, pick a name, St. Thomas Aquinas. You got to come at them with both guns firing. Okay. Oh, can't say guns anymore in today's world, but I'm going to say it. You got to have both guns firing. You can't just have a pistol with faith in it or a pistol with philosophy in it. You need two guns, one in each hand in this culture.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, this was a good topic. Seriously, I actually learned a lot. It wasn't.
You weren't going to trust me on this when I told you I was going to hijack
Well,
it.
I just didn't know I didn't know if it was going to be boring or what, but I mean, nothing's ever excited, but I think it's truth that I needed to know, and I think everyone needs
Yeah.
to know. And I've never heard this argument before. You hear like the biology argument,
Right.
which is also very valid.
It is, but it's a cop out because it's a safe one to go to.
The atheist argument.
Unfortunately, philosophy is very dry,
Yeah.
very dense, it's very boring, and there's an enormous amount of terrible philosophers out there. So you just got to read the right ones.
Who are the right ones?
Well, I'm going to start always with the pagan Aristotle, but
Okay.
that's just me.
All right. Well, thanks, Dad. And thank you, everyone, for listening. We hope you had a wonderful holiday and Merry Christmas. And we're approaching the new year here. So we wish you guys a happy New Year's. And we will talk to you guys after the New Year's. We have a really good topic. It's about Israel, and it will also be a great topic. So stay tuned. And if you have any questions about our topics today, you know what to do. You can email us. And in the meantime, please follow us if you're not following us so you can know when our next episode comes out. Subscribe and download our episode. Drop us a comment, leave us a rating. It helps more than you know. And then again, email us if you ever have topic requests, questions, or comments on the topics that we've discussed on this episode or any existing episodes. We do always respond. And email us at agirlandherdadpod@gmail.com. That is a girl and her dad pod@gmail.com. And it should be in the description on whatever platform you're listening on. So that's all we have for today. Again, hope you had a Merry Christmas and hoping that you have a Happy New Year. And that's it. So thank you.
Over and out from Solo Studios.
Yep. All right. Bye, guys.